Welcome to Monday, April 7th, 2025. Your day weather podcast being brought to you by ConverseCountyTourism.com. Feel the energy of Converse County. Explore Douglas's railroad heritage, Ayers Natural Bridge, and the Jackalope legend. Glen Rock boasts scenic trails, dinosaur history, and small town charm. Plan your visit at ConverseCountyTourism.com. Well, we have a fairly quiet stretch of week of weather ahead. We don't really have a lot going on. There'll be a few things to be ready for, but as you can see there in the photo, the blue skies and the animals coming out as the weather really cleared out quite nicely over the weekend. A bit cool, but we are going to come into this week with a milder trend. High pressure and Pacific air coming into the region will mean a mild temperature pattern with a fair amount of high and mid-level clouds. And between now and Wednesday, be ready for some wind, especially tomorrow and Wednesday. The wind is going to pick up, so be ready for that. The wind in the wind-prone areas of the Intermountain West is going to be picking up as a wave goes across the northern tier of the U.S. Along that wave, there will be some showers and thunderstorms in the northern areas, from the Pacific Northwest through Montana, Idaho, northern Wyoming, into the western Dakotas. There's going to be a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity tomorrow and Wednesday as a Pacific wave kind of crashes through the high pressure ridge. Then another trough frontal system, a stronger one, is going to come into the region by the weekend. Now, I have to tell you that the computer modeling is extremely poor. Poor meaning run-to-run consistency. One day it shows something, the next day it shows something else. As you change seasons, the models usually have a difficult time as you change seasons. There's just a lot going on in the atmosphere, a lot to keep track of, but the model performance is much more poor than, let's say, normal, and even the AI products are having a very difficult time one day to the next. So basically through Friday, we've got a good idea of what's going on. After Friday, you're just going to have to stay tuned. In the meantime, we've got some very spring-like photos to show you all across the region. A lot going on in the skies this weekend. Most of it just giving us beautiful vistas like this from western South Dakota to a really good Aurora Borealis show Friday night. We have had some low-level geomagnetic storm activity really off and on here for the past week. So up in Montana this past Friday night, really nice display of the aurora, and the sun is very active. So remember, it was a year ago, May, where we had that big aurora outbreak. So the sun still is going to be active. So the aurora shows could still be very much something this spring that we'll be keeping an eye on. Still a lot of snow in the mountains, but with that spring sky there in the background from Driggs, Idaho, making look a good shot. Then all the way from Missouri. Now, in the Rockies, we don't have a lot of blooming yet, depending on where you are in the Rockies. But there in Missouri, the Show Me State, a cardinal showing up very well. And then fresh snow in the mountains of southern Colorado here over the last several days, which was needed, and that was good to see. And then we're going to have a lot of this, a lot of mid and high-level clouds, a little bit of a lenticular shape to there. You can see a nice little hole in the clouds there. So sky watching should be good. And talk about a near perfect April day there in Montana this past weekend with those spring clouds, fresh snow on the mountains and the blue skies. So you're going to want to get outside and be able to get views like this. Nice sun pillar Saturday morning captured by Jan Curtis in Cheyenne and also Thomas in Cheyenne. A couple people able to take advantage of that really nice sun pillar this past Saturday morning. Now, we're going to have a much more quiet weather pattern across the nation here to start the week. We're still going to have lingering rain from the extreme flooding event that happened in the central part of the United States here over the past weekend, going back to late last week. And you'll see this here in the satellite imagery. You can see that there's a large swath of the U.S. under clear skies. So kind of a pause in the action, so to speak. Of course, you see the cloudiness coming in with this low crashing the Pacific Northwest coast. Now, the problem is that this low is going to run into this big high. So that's going to weaken this low considerably. But moisture pushing out ahead of it will produce some shower activity in the Pacific Northwest then as it heads east tomorrow and Wednesday into the northern Rockies. Now, out here in the Pacific, this is why I'm showing you the wider view. There's a lot going on. And this is one reason why the computer modeling is having such a difficult time. There's a lot to kind of keep track of from the Pacific Northwest coast all the way to the other side of the Pacific. So expect variable weather forecasts. This is where I got to warn you. If you're going to look at your phone and look at a 15-day forecast, it's pretty much worthless. And you'll see that here in a minute. The latest advisories for the United States here over the next 24 hours, all this purple, those are freeze warnings. Now, we still have flooding concerns as the rains have come to an end, but still some flooding there and here. But you can see how far south, some very cold temperatures for April. We had snow all the way down into southern New Mexico and West Texas this weekend. So that cold air that was over the Rockies last week has shifted east to the other side of the United States. And there you can see the high pressure ridge today, the low crashing the party, so to speak. This is why the start of the week is going to have what we termed last week a dirty ridge. Now, if you think April has been cold so far, these are the temperature anomalies compared to average for April for the western United States through Sunday. So yeah, April has been off to a really cold start if you compare it to the 30-year averages. Now, we will reverse that a little bit with warmer temperatures here over the next 5 days. So this is the 5-day temperature average. So between today and Friday, and likely into Saturday, we're going to have temperatures go back to around 5 to 10 degrees above average on the whole. This is not as warm as that couple of week ago period that we had, but nonetheless, this will get us really back into the spring thing of things between now and the end of the week. But you can see the other side of the nation is the opposite. Very cold from the Great Lakes to Florida, from East Texas to Maine. Temperatures are going to be on the opposite side of the spectrum. So it depends on what side of the country you're on. As we get into Tuesday, that low comes in, and notice it takes the top of the ridge off. So what happens when lows go north and you're south of the low? You get into the wind. So we're going to have strong west-east jet stream flow moving across the Rockies. Anytime the jet stream winds are perpendicular to the north-south mountain ranges, you're going to get wind along and east of the divide, and you're going to get wind in the wind gaps. So while it will be mild, I'm afraid you're going to be quite windy in places. And we're also going to have a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. We have, anywhere you see these green shades, there will be the possible chance for a little bit of thunderstorm activity. Nothing severe, nothing widespread, but this is for tomorrow. So for tomorrow, you can see across the Pacific Northwest, northern Wyoming, southern Montana, western South Dakota, a little bit of thunderstorm activity. Then on Wednesday, it spreads a little bit further out into the east. So a little bit of April shower activity along where that low is going to track. And there you can see it. Heaviest along the coast, then you can see the low weakens, but there's going to be enough instability that Tuesday and Wednesday, a little bit of spotty shower and thunderstorm activity is going to develop in those areas you see shaded there. There's the wind. These are the potential wind gusts between now and Wednesday. So from the Dakotas to Wyoming to northern Colorado to western Nebraska up into Montana, we're going to have plenty of gusty winds along that strong jet stream moving west-east across the area. So be ready for the wind through midweek. Then at the end of the week, we got a little bit of a resurgence of high pressure, but then we've got another trough of low pressure coming into the Pacific Northwest, and it looks like it's going to ride up along the northern tier, not dig south, but it will drag a cold frontal boundary through all of the area sometime late Saturday into Sunday and Monday. But the timing, the amount of shower activity, how cold it gets behind the front, we're just going to need to get a little closer. Then after this period of time, the models are all over the place. But what we do expect is that we do expect more in the way of Pacific energy and moisture to come in starting this weekend and next week, getting the weather pattern more active again. But whether or not it's very active, much colder, very wet, just a little wet, don't know yet. But the change in this mild pattern that's coming up for the next 5 to 6 days starts to occur late this weekend and into next week. Have yourself a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.